G'day everyone and welcome back to Louis' Garage. So we are almost finished on the Lotus Exige S, which is great because now I can start driving it around in the summer. And the car's doing really well. I've done a lot of really little cosmetic things. I've done a lot of little fixes to the car, and it's definitely feeling a lot better. There's a lot less rattling around and a lot less hopefully loose bolts as well. So what are we doing today? We are going to be looking at the air conditioning system, because although these cars, they're historically known to have pretty weak air conditioning, I think my car is a little bit too weak. So I'm going to be checking the gas pressure and making sure that we have enough gas in there. I've got a little recharge kit that I'll show you in a second, that I've used quite successfully on a few other cars. And sometimes it just needs a bit of a recharge. You know, if you see that there's still pressure in the system, but the pressure is a little bit low, that means that it just needs a bit of a recharge, you know, because no seal is perfect, especially with the aircon refrigerant. It's quite easy for it to leak out. So over the last sort of 13 years that this car's been on the earth, it probably has leaked out a little bit, and I don't think anyone has paid attention to that. So we're going to try and rectify that today. So the first step is to jack up your car. Just do it on the one side, on the right hand side, because this is the area that we're going to be working in, this rear wheel well area here. So just jack that up, and also have a jack stand handy as well, just to make sure that you're working in a safe manner. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll follow the next steps. Alright, so the first step that you're going to need to do is to loosen up the wheel nuts or wheel bolts, whichever one you have, while the car is still on the ground, because then that means you can actually take the wheel nuts off. So I've just got my big breaker bar, and I've just loosened up all the bolts around there. Second step is to get your jack in the right position and jack up the car a little bit. Make sure you do have a jack stand under there as well. I haven't jacked it up fully yet, but yeah, I'll jack it up properly, and then we'll put a jack stand under, and then we'll get rid of this wheel. Alright, we're just going to whip off the wheels with my impact wrench. Alright, I'm going to need two hands for that one. Alright, next we're going to remove these two plastic trim fixings. So these are just for the wheel well, and the way that these work is that they do screw in and out, but they're actually quite weak. So once you get a little bit of gap in there, you can just put a screwdriver in there and pull out the inner bit. Just like that. You can just pull it out. As soon as you can get a screwdriver in there, I wouldn't bother screwing it out. Just because it doesn't actually screw out very well. So if you can get a screwdriver in there, just poke it through, just like that. Yep. It's the best way that I've found of removing these things. Cool. So you just have to pull back on the wheel arch liner. You don't have to remove it, so that's good news. And those are the two ports that we'll be dealing with today. Actually, we're only going to be dealing with that one that I've taken the cap off. That is the low pressure port. So we're just going to hook up our CRC aircon recharge kit onto that, and we'll check the pressure first before we do anything, and then yeah, we'll just make sure that there is actually some pressure in there. Alright, so we're going to start the car, and we are going to be running the aircon on max. Yeah, and make sure that the compressor is on, all that sort of stuff, etc, etc. And then we should be able to get a reading from the low pressure port to see how much pressure we have. A little bit awkward because I've got my jack here. Alright, let's start the car. lowest temperature, aircon on max. Alright guys, so my pressure is a little bit low, so I'm going to fill up a little bit. So what you do is you press the trigger, and then every 3 seconds you need to turn the can horizontal. So we're just going to press the trigger, 1, 2, 3, horizontal. Make sure your valve is connected properly in there as well. Sometimes you have to pull up on the tab just to get it on there properly. So it's worth a try. Alright, now we just need to disconnect the port, which I've done, and then we'll put the dust cap back on and we'll see how the temperature is inside the car. So I've still got the aircon on max, and you can see on the temperature gun that the vents are very, very cold now, which is great. Sorry I didn't do it before temperature, but it was basically just room temperature. You know, it was just not even blowing cold air, but now it is actually blowing cold air. I'll keep an eye on it, make sure that there's no leaks and stuff, because obviously there's probably a reason why there was not much refrigerant in there in the first place. But you know, it's a pretty cheap way of just checking your system, making sure that everything's working okay. Obviously if you have a big leak, don't fill it up, because you know it's illegal to actually release the gas knowingly into the atmosphere. So just be careful with that. If you do think that you have quite a big leak, then you know do not do this. Take it to a proper aircon place to get it checked. Alright, we'll put everything back together and hopefully we'll go for a bit of a test drive.